everything but Xerneas in the format. Uh, and Xerneas is a big problem for teams, so you can't really afford that. Now, we do see Hongyu's team on stream here. It's got that Manectric. One other thing I wanted to say, the Manectric team that won European Regionals, and similar to the one that I was playing around with, that had Evotel on it. I don't know if Hongyu is necessarily using Snarl. Manectric also has options in things like Overheat, which would mesh pretty well with this team, considering he's got that Rayquaza, and he might not want Rayquaza using a fire move of its own. Maybe Manectric is the way that he deals with opposing Ferrothorn. So we also saw the Crobat Thundurus in the first best of 3 in the top 8 that we streamed. Hongyu also running Ferrothorn, a great Pokemon against Kyogre, and a reasonable Pokemon against Xerneas, though we didn't see him bring it against that Big 6 matchup.
Yeah, that's very interesting. You know, I'm happy to see that Ferrothorn is one of those Pokemon that has persisted from 2015 into 2016. Because it's just so much fun. You know, it has so much potential with that Iron Barbs. I was going to call it Spiky Shield for a second. I was like, that's not right.
It is a shield that is spiky.
It is a shield that is spiky.
All right, we get to see MissingNOL's team.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, we are going to see another Kyogre, Groudon, Mawile, Salamence, Bronzong, Thundurus team. It almost looks like the same team.
It is the same 6 Pokemon as we just saw Kelvin use. And Hongyu obviously having a very unique team to take them on.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't think we're going to see Ferrothorn in this matchup, though. But please bring the Manectric.
Ferrothorn is a decent Pokemon. It is going to be able to deal good damage to Kyogre. It's not going to be hit by Mawile, which is Mitchell's Major Mega. It is hit neutrally by Salamence, and that's not fun. But
do you think we'll see Trick Room?
I think we will. I don't know if Bronzong's very effective against this team either. I think Trick Room's effective. I just don't know if Bronzong is worth having on the field just for Trick Room. We'll see what Mitchell chooses here. Will we see Manectric? I think that regardless of if it's running Snarl or Overheat, I think it's coming to this game.
Yes, I am so excited.
If it's running Overheat, it's going to be able to deal good pressure against both Mawile and Bronzong. If it's running Snarl, it'll be able to hit Bronzong super effectively, reduce Hyper Voice damage from Salamence, reduce Thundurus, Thunderbolt, reduce Kyogre Water Spouts and Origin Pulse, or potentially Origin Pulse or Scald.
Yeah, so both trainers taking their time at Team Preview, bringing the clock down to 4 seconds. We are now going to get this battle started. The second top 4 round here at Seattle. Excited to see these players lead, so let's get this started. Salamence and Thundurus coming out on the MissingNOL side of the field, and there is that Manectric, my hero, and the Kyogre out on Hongyu's side of the field. Yeah, I am so excited right now.
One thing I haven't really said about Manectric yet is that, of course, it's also got that Lightning Rod ability, which is fantastic support for Kyogre and other Pokemon that don't want to be Thunderwaved, like Rayquaza.
Yeah, it's worth noting, though, you know, Manectric, if it does choose to Mega Evolve here and use Intimidate against that Salamence, it will lose that Lightning Rod. So do you think we're going to see it Mega, or do you think we're going to see it try and, you know, buy time for a couple turns?
It's interesting because at the moment, Manectric's a base 105 speed Pokemon. It's faster than Salamence. If it lets Salamence Mega Evolve unchallenged, Salamence gets the speed advantage. So whether you Mega Evolve Manectric or not, it's difficult to say based on whether you want it to be the Pokemon that deals with Salamence. Now, Kyogre can take a Double Edge, and with Manectric not Mega Evolved, Thundurus is unable to hit Kyogre for anything significant. So there are benefits to not Mega Evolving Manectric here, but Mitchell might be able to adjust.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to see that Salamence Mega Evolve at least, so we got 1 out of 2 Megas on the field this turn.
We actually see Salamence Mega Evolve, which confirms Manectric is not.
Right, because it is slower than that Manectric. Thundurus goes for a Taunt. Manectric using Hidden Power, most likely an Ice-type Hidden Power, into that Salamence. Brings it down into the red, and, you know, not enough to stop the Tailwind, but Kyogre could potentially pick up the KO here, depending on what it chose to use. We're going to see it use Ice Beam and actually into the Thundurus, so also down to the red. Except for the Citrus Berry.
So that's kind of funny. Mitchell made sure that Manectric would not protect in future turns. I don't think that Manectric really has status moves very often. Now, Manectric did not Mega Evolve. It didn't gain the special attack, and it didn't finish off Salamence as a result. I'm trying to figure out if that's a good thing, because now Mitchell has 2 Pokemon that are very seriously damaged. If he just, tries to stall out Tailwind turns, he's going to be able to take out 2 Pokemon simultaneously with a spread move, for instance. And that is a great way to try and keep momentum in Hongyu's favor.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we did not see the Kyogre go for the spread move there, because as soon as I saw that hidden power from that Manectric, I kind of assumed, okay, we're either going to see, was it Water Spout, I believe? Anyways, who knows what's going to happen this turn. We are going to see that Manectric Mega Evolve getting that special attack boost.
And the Intimidate
also
onto the
intimidating
Salamence.
which will significantly nerf its Double Edge if it's carrying that. Salamence goes for the Protect, so we won't know that until next turn. We're going to see a second taunt from that Thundurus, though, onto the Kyogre.
Interesting.
Preventing the Protect next turn.
Oh. We went for a Volt Switch onto the Salamence, but Salamence obviously protecting.
Yeah, and then a Scald from that Kyogre will finish things up this turn. Very interesting play. It almost looked like Hongyu was trying to Volt Switch out of that taunt.
Yeah, and it's interesting here that double taunt has given Groudon free reign under Tailwind to Precipice Blades here without any sort of contention. Now, Hongyu has 2 Pokemon that are in the back that are likely going to be able to switch into this Precipice Blades. He's got Thundurus, Crobat, and Rayquaza as options. So Rayquaza presumably coming because it is a fantastic Pokemon with incredible stats. Can't leave that behind.
No,
and then the other
definitely
Pokemon,
not.
it's possibly brought Ferrothorn. I think he's probably going to have brought Thundurus, maybe Crobat, if Crobat was something he opted for. But either way, he's got 2 ground immune Pokemon likely in back.
Yeah, it is worth noting, though, that Mega Manectric is on the field, which means we'll not be seeing Mega Rayquaza this game.
Yes, and that is one of the interesting parts of playing Rayquaza Kyogre teams, is that Rayquaza's best ability, arguably, is the Airlock, which cancels out opposing weather conditions upon switching in, and just ignores them completely.
Yeah, we are going to see that Manectric switch out, and we do see the Rayquaza come out on the field, so possibly another Scald from that Kyogre if it can survive the Double Edge and the Precipice Blades.
We'll see a Hyper Voice.
You see a Hyper Voice, so it's very possible that Kyogre will survive this Precipice Blades coming up. Let's see how the damage rolls.
And this is going to matter in terms of how Hongyu's invested his Kyogre, and that is a very physically invested Kyogre.
That is a very physically invested Kyogre. Scald easily picking up the KO on that Groudon. Beautiful play by Hongyu there. He must have known that either A, the Salamence was going to go for the Hyper Voice, or B, just that Kyogre could have potentially taken that, because we do have to keep in mind that Salamence has been intimidated thanks to that Manectric.
Yeah, and we see Kyogre come in for Mitchell here. Now, Hongyu's put himself in a very good position, obviously, being up 2 Pokemon, but Mitchell still has Tailwind.
He does still have Tailwind, but we could possibly see Hongyu attempt to stall it out. I believe there's only 1 turn left.
You got to click the right buttons, though.
You do got to click the right buttons.
So the other thing is, Salamence obviously in the red. Hongyu damaged on both fronts, but he hasn't even revealed his 4th Pokemon. He's got a Mega Manectric in back. Once that Tailwind goes down, Mega Manectric is going to be great against both of these Pokemon.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say if that 4th Pokemon in the back is that Ferrothorn, Hongyu easily has this wrapped up. But what I'm curious to see is that if Hongyu tries to play here so that he doesn't reveal the 4th Pokemon, that could be huge knowledge going into game 2.
Absolutely. And one other thing that's interesting to see, I was talking earlier about, well, Mega Manectric has potentially Overheat or Snarl. It didn't really have a reason to use either of those this game. We still aren't going to know, I don't think, whether it has it unless it opts to use a Snarl against Kyogre. I don't think it really needs to. I
don't think we're going to see that. Rayquaza using the Extreme Speed to pick up the KO on that Salamence. It is now Kyogre versus the world. Quite literally. The opposing Kyogre is going to use Scald into that Rayquaza, does not do enough damage to pick up the KO, does not get a burn, and then Hongyu's Kyogre also uses the Scald, not going to do any damage, but does
get
pick
the
up
burn.
the burn.
That will make the game go a little bit faster.
It will. And then we are going to see Taunt wear off on Kyogre and Tailwind wear off this turn.
All right, so, I mean, this game is all but over. There's a Mega Manectric in back. how does Mitchell adjust for game 2?
You know, I'm not really sure. I think if I were Mitchell, I would try and possibly maybe even lead that Kyogre. I have Thunder and just pray that we don't see the Mega Manectric lead again, though now that I'm actually saying that out loud, that is a terrible idea, so
Isn't it funny how that works?
Yeah. You know, sometimes when I'm playing, I just kind of talk things through in my head, because it's say something, you're just like,
I stopped
no.
agreeing with myself halfway through there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that Mega Manectric is going to be huge pressure.
It is. Maybe we'll see that Bronzong come out this turn. You know, it's safe to say that Hongyu had very great speed control this entire game, whereas Mitchell didn't really have anything. So if he brings Trick Room this game and he's running slow Kyogre and slow Groudon, that might be enough to swing things in his favor. Manectric is a very fast Pokemon.
Yeah, I guess maybe one of the adjustments that Mitchell makes is some speed control that he's confident in, and Mawile over Salamence.
Yes.
Mawile is going to at least not be weak to the Hidden Power Ice. It's not going to get Ice Beamed. It's not going to get Thunder Waved or it's not going to lose as much of his threatening potential due to Thunder Wave. Salamence also getting intimidated by Manectric, which means that it can't chunk Kyogre for as much. So maybe Mawile is the adjustment, but we'll see what Mitchell thinks here.
Yeah.
An alternate lead combination could very well do the trick.
Yeah, I think I'm just biased as someone who really likes Trick Room. I just assume that Trick Room is the answer to all of life's problems. Spoiler alert,
Yeah, Trick Room is a strategy that in 2015 had a lot of trouble getting off the ground, but in 2016 has really picked up and is a very powerful strategy just because these restricted Pokemon deal so much damage and you cannot afford even one turn of free attacking.
Yeah, and it's also very interesting that it seems like at the end of every metagame cycle, maybe not so much this past year at World, but you know, in 2015 earlier, you see a lot of players bring Trick Room into the game because it is just such a powerful way of speed control. And it lasts a really long time.
And we do see Mawile.
We are going to see Mawile. We're going to also see Groudon from Mitchell's side of the field into the Kyogre and Mega Manectric lead. So time to see whose Groudon is slower, or whose Primal is slower, excuse me. I might have just guessed and / assumed that Groudon is slower here. That
Groudon's
is
faster.
not the case. We are going to see Groudon set up Stun first, which means, fortunately for Hongyu, he is going to be able to get the rain up and immediately put that Groudon in at a disadvantage.
That is a big deal because now Kyogre has a lot of threatening potential against the Mawile as well.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that if Mitchell did decide to adjust here and try and bring Trick Room, which honestly from this lead I don't think so, but you know, that would mean that Kyogre would be slower than that Groudon under Trick Room.
Yeah, also a big deal. Maybe he kind of...
I don't think he brought Trick Room.
No, I don't think he brought Trick Room. That is a huge weather war that just happened because if Kyogre had lost that, then Manectric would maybe try and pull some cute switch plays. But because Groudon lost that, Kyogre's free to just Water Spout almost. Maybe it takes a Precipice Blades or something, but Manectric will intimidate if it Mega Evolves. It can it can Volt Switch the Mawile to deal good chip damage, and the combination of Volt Switch and Water Spout, even from 50% HP, that's still approximately a base 90 power move.
Yeah.
As a spread move. That's still going to probably pick up the KO on both of these Pokemon.
Yeah, and I gotta say, you know, Hongyu's lead here was kind of ingenious because even if he were to have lost the Weather War, it's possible that Manectric could be carrying Overheat, some other Fire-type move, and easily picked up the KO on that Mawile.
Yeah.
We're going to see Manectric protect this turn, though.
No
No
Intimidate
Mega
either.
Evolving. We're also going to see the Kyogre protect, so Hongyu's playing it very safe, possibly wanting to see how Mitchell's going to respond to this lead.
Yeah.
I believe that was a Sucker Punch from the Mawile and Precipice Blades from Groudon, both not doing any damage.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. I guess Hongyu was also scouting for a potential switch-in, just to see how Mitchell might respond. He'll still be in the same position as he was the first turn, even with the double protect, unless Mitchell brings in something that he now wants to respond to differently. So I think now, I mean, we just see a return of the last turn's commentary and decision making. Hongyu's in a good position to essentially just do what he wants.
Yeah, and you know, having the potential to intimidate and then immediately Volt Switch that Manectric out on the field could do a ton of damage to Mitchell's, you know, offensive potential. We are going to see the Groudon switch out this turn into the Kyogre. So probably a safe play. I doubt we would have seen Manectric Thunderbolt into that slot unless Hongyu attempted to call that switch out.
Yeah, and I don't know, even if he did or suspected it, I don't know if he would, just because if Groudon doesn't switch out, then Kyogre potentially takes a Precipice Blades, a lot of damage, and might not finish off Mawile depending on the move choices. So
Definitely.
if he was really going to dedicate to that prediction, maybe he Volt Switches the Kyogre and scalds the Mawile.
I don't know. We're going to see Mawile protect Mega Manectric also evolving. Manectric goes for the Volt Switch into the Mawile. Kyogre goes for the Scald into the Kyogre. Not going to do a lot of damage,
And we
but
get the
gets
burn.
the burn. 2 games in a row, we're going to see a Scald burn on that Kyogre. I feel kind of bad for it.
Yeah, I was thinking there that a free Scald into a Kyogre is great, both because that did a good amount of damage, and secondly because anytime you get a free chance at a burn between 2 Kyogres, that's huge.
Yeah, Kyogre versus Kyogre, if both Kyogre do not have Thunder, is probably one of the most long and tantalizing matchups of VGC'16. Having that additional chip damage each turn can really make or break the one-on-one matchup.
Absolutely. So now we see Mitchell with Groudon in back. Manectric has Volt Switch. It is likely going to want to Volt Switch a target, but which? And how does Mitchell respond in terms of a potential switch? He's still not in a great position to deal with this Kyogre using Mawile or this Manectric. Mawile is intimidated.
Yeah.
So maybe we see Mawile, and we see Mawile switch out.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that, interestingly enough, we are going to see the Thundurus switch in for the Mawile spot, definitely predicting a second Volt Switch there from that Manectric. Not going to do a lot of damage. Could potentially
40%.
be in Water Spout range, though.
Yeah, that wasn't Thunderbolt damage, but that is still fair damage, and I think that, if Mitchell had brought in Groudon, Hongyu would have been in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, definitely.
Groudon would have brought in the Sun, and Manectric would have whiffed on that Volt Switch.
Yeah, we're going to see Kyogre go for the Water Spout, so that'll definitely pick up the KO on Thundurus from that range. Maybe Manectric did the perfect amount of damage there because we did not see a Citrus Berry activate. Finally, Ice Beam, calling the Rayquaza switch in, going to bring that Rayquaza down to its Focus Sash.
Yeah.
So, very interesting play. It looks like both players kind of made trades there.
I mean, it's kind of funny because, again, Hongyu has 3 Flying-type Pokemon, probably not bringing Ferrothorn, so Ice Beam into that slot is a very good read by Mitchell because no matter what, it either hits a Manectric, which I guess a Water move would have been more effective, but Manectric showed that it wanted to Volt Switch out, so something Ice Weak is coming in.
Yeah. Mitchell definitely took advantage of the fact that Manectric had been going pretty hard for the Volt Switch for a couple of turns there. And just, he finally succeeded with it, and then he immediately capitalized on it.
Yeah, and if Mitchell wanted Mawile to switch out so that he wouldn't be intimidated, unfortunately, Manectric's still in back now, and Mawile is not going to be able to escape a potential other Intimidate. Now, yeah, I think the play Mitchell needed to make to not fall behind there was switching in the Groudon for either Pokemon, really. But it turns out definitely for the Mawile, just to prevent the potential Rayquaza switch in.
Yeah, so if you're Mitchell here, I mean, what do? Sucker Punch is slower than Extreme Speed, which, I would be really surprised if we don't see Rayquaza come to do that.
Or an Extreme Speed onto the Kyogre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a Focus Sash Rayquaza that should pick up the knockout, but because it hasn't Mega Evolved, I'm thrown off, and no, it does not.
It misses the knockout by what looks like enough burn damage. We're going to see Sucker Punch from that Mawile pick
Critical
up the
hit.
crit, do a ton of damage to that Kyogre, which means its Water Spout will now be significantly weakened, allowing Mawile to survive it easily. He did pick up the KO on that Kyogre, though.
That was a good survive by Mawile. I mean, that was a spread damage Water Spout from less than half HP, so maybe not too surprising, but we now see Groudon switch in. We saw Groudon win the Weather War on turn 1, or go win the Speed tie on turn 1, so Groudon faster than Kyogre here. Hongyu needs to figure out a way to put his Kyogre in an advantageous situation.
Yeah, I honestly think the play for Hongyu here is just to switch out that Kyogre. He can't stop the Sucker Punch. We know Groudon is faster. Really, all Groudon has to do here is single target attack the Kyogre slot, and
and hit a Manectric switch in.
Yeah, and hit a Manectric switch in.
Which will intimidate both of these Pokemon. So I think we're going to see Manectric switch in here. Depending on what moves Rayquaza has, it could be threatening something like a Waterfall or Earth Power or potentially even Water Pulse if you have a Life Orb. So I suppose not with a Focus Sash.
No, we already know that the Rayquaza has that Focus Sash. We are going to see the Manectric switch in for that Intimidate. Hongyu trying to gain offensive pressure here. Rayquaza actually protects. So, you know, if Mitchell double targeted into the Manectric slot, which he may have, it's hard to say with that Sucker Punch.
Manectric avoids the Precipice Blades.
That was huge. Even though it was intimidated, you know, Precipice Blades does super effective damage to that Manectric, and Manectric isn't really that bulky.
Yeah,
I
think
could have saved it.
Manectric would have got down. Because of that, Hongyu now has more options, and he can potentially Volt Switch out again, or maybe just switch out and get another Intimidate onto the field and put both of these Pokemon at -2.
Yeah.
To finish off the game.
Yeah, he could even Volt Switch and set up his Weather again, which would effectively protect that Rayquaza, because unless Groudon is carrying something like Rock Slide or, you know, another rock move.
Yeah, and we see Mitchell protect here because that Volt Switch would go into the Mawile. We see Manectric launch an Overheat, so we have confirmed, finally, that that third move that Manectric has, Rayquaza launching a Draco Meteor.
Into that Groudon slot, it's going to do a lot over half damage, so that was really significant. And Groudon trying to use its Precipice Blades to finish off that Manectric before it can get a second Intimidate out. Will it get the knockout? It does easily. It's still 3-on-2 here, and you know, both Mawile and Groudon are kind of not in the best position, especially if Hongyu decides to send out Kyogre this turn, but we will see.
Well, don't forget that Rayquaza is at minus special attack. It's faster than Groudon, presumably, so we'll be okay if Groudon outspeeds Kyogre, but it's interesting because I think Hongyu's played this really well. He didn't want to switch in a Pokemon and not attack that turn, because if he did, he gives his opponent a chance to gain momentum.
Yeah.
So just going for the double attack. We see the Ferrothorn, actually.
Hey, Ferrothorn, I'm glad to see you on the field, actually. Very interesting play. I almost wonder if Hongyu's trying to bait Mitchell into using a Fire-type attack here just so he can switch in the Kyogre and, you know, buy himself another turn to do damage to that Mawile, do damage to that Groudon, and just try and swing things back in his favor. Yeah,
I was expecting to see something like Thundurus or Crobat in back. Ferrothorn is interesting because now this is a lot more tenuous. Ferrothorn... Rayquaza's at 1 HP. It could knock out the Groudon with a Dragon Descent, but Mitchell can block that with a Sucker Punch. So if he does that, Ferrothorn doesn't really help this situation because Groudon is able to attack almost freely here.
Yeah, definitely.
So this isn't a great position for Hongyu right now. At best, what he can do is Extreme Speed or something, but we actually don't see Groudon attack freely, as I was just commenting on.
Yeah, we see Groudon and Ferrothorn protect this turn. If Mawile went for the Sucker Punch here into that... Never mind, Mawile goes for the Play Rough, doing that 1 HP of damage. Rayquaza did go for the Extreme Speed into the Groudon slot, though, so you got one thing right.
That's, but that Extreme Speed wouldn't have KO'd the Groudon.
Oh,
the Groudon
definitely
wouldn't
not.
have been in a worse position than it is now. Maybe Extreme Speed plus Iron Barbs would have... I don't think that would KO, but I suppose I'm not taking the Iron Barbs into account. But now he's Groudon in the rain, so...
He's Groudon in the rain.
But he's faster than Kyogre.
And it's very possible that a Sucker Punch here from Mawile could pick up the KO on that Kyogre and eliminate the rain before Groudon attacks, meaning any Fire-type attacks will easily obliterate that Ferrothorn.
Now, if Kyogre protects here and Ferrothorn Leech Seeds the Groudon, or maybe Power Whip's enough at this point in time, but if a Leech Seed goes off and then he gets a turn of recovery, a protect, no, that's not enough. So I think the play for Hongyu here is protect and Power Whip the Groudon, and if that's enough, and he's got the game because Mawile can't take out a Ferrothorn.
Yeah, we are going to see Kyogre protect, stopping that Sucker Punch. Precipice Blades from the Groudon does connect with that Ferrothorn, but it's only going to do maybe 30, 40, 20% damage.
We do see the Leech Seed, though.
Will connect with the Groudon, and... yeah, that was, I think, the best play Hongyu could have hoped for there.
Yeah, and I suppose this turn, Rain is still up because of that protect. So he can now Power Whip the Groudon very confidently. Mawile dealt that much damage to Kyogre with a critical hit Sucker Punch, so I don't think another Sucker Punch will finish it off. I think it would just barely hang on. We also saw a very bulky Kyogre in Game 1 surviving
we did.
Groudon's Precipice Blades very well. So he doesn't want to lose Kyogre, though, before Groudon attacks. And
we're almost at time, too. So, you know, it's very important here with both players down to 2 Pokemon to do their best to try and play the clock. We're not going to see that at all. We're going to see a Precipice Blades from that Groudon miss the KO on Kyogre by 14 HP. Scald from that Kyogre will attack the Mawile, picking up that knockout. All Hongyu has to do to win this right now is just protect with that Ferrothorn next turn, but you know the Power Whip will connect and do that last chunk of damage. This is game over.
Yeah, I was wondering if that Groudon at -1 would take out the Kyogre. I thought it had a good potential to, but apparently Hongyu's Kyogre just so bulky, hanging on there, and we see Hongyu Zhu advance to the finals of the Washington Regional Championships with a Manectric. Very exciting.
Very exciting. So that means that Hongyu is going to be pretty much playing the same matchup next round, I believe. Was it the other?
No, Kelvin